Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. My name is Emily. We are owned by the Port of Seattle, managed by Columbia Hospitality. We're a member-based organization, and we put on social and educational programs, and we've kept that going through COVID. And that's actually how the Navigating Business in Times of Crisis series started. It's a three-part series. The first part was all about adapting. We then moved into the recovering phase, and this is the third phase of the program, which is about looking ahead. So today we are talking about new etiquette for the new work norms, and we have Arden Clise joining us. Arden is president of Clise Etiquette. As an author, speaker, trainer, and coach, Arden helps companies have the competitive advantage through confident, polished, and courteous employees. Good morning, Arden.
Good morning, Emily.
Thank you for being here today, Arden. And we are going to cover a wide range of topics. So everything from safe and appropriate greetings, mask etiquette, workplace courtesies, and how to hold inclusive meetings. So for everyone who is joining us live, this is meant to be really interactive. So on the right-hand side of your screen, there is a chat feature. Feel free to put in there where you're from, introduce yourselves to each other. At the bottom of the screen, there are reactions. So feel free to use those. Arden will also be encouraging us to use them throughout the program to answer certain questions. And if you have a question for Arden, on the right-hand side of your screen at the bottom, it says questions. Please type it in there. And if someone asks a question that you really want to know the answer to, you can upvote it. So essentially you like it and it moves the question up to the top of the list. But for right now, let's get started with safe and appropriate greetings. Arden, first question.
All right, thank you. Yes, well, thank you so much, Emily. Let me just say that it has been a really unusual year, as we all know, and as COVID hit us and we slowly realized exactly all that was how it was going to impact us. As Emily said, we have gone into many phases of dealing with this crisis, and we now are looking forward to the recovery and the new norms. So we've learned a lot from 2019 and even the beginning of this year in terms of how we're going to be working. And I expect that many things will change in how we conduct our work, what we do in our workplaces, how we interact with others. All of those things are really going to change. So I'd like to start with probably one of the most obvious, and that is safe and alternative greetings. Will we still shake hands? That's the big question. So, I want to share just something really quick about handshakes, because I think it's really cool when there's etiquette, there's history to what we do. So the handshakes evolved from, it's believed that in the medieval times, we shook hands to show we didn't have a weapon in our hand. And it was a way of saying, I'm not going to kill you. It's further believed that when we pump, that came from showing that we didn't have a weapon up our sleeve. Can't really see my sleeve, it's a short one, but we would pump to get a weapon out of our sleeve. And we continued, obviously, through the centuries to shake hands as a sign of goodwill and greeting. And it's been something we've practiced for, a very long time. The pandemic has definitely changed that. We're not shaking hands. And in fact, we're not getting close enough to do anything, including elbow bumps. So I would like to know from the audience if you think handshakes are going to come back or if they're going to be gone forever. So this is where you're going to use those reactions, and you'll do thumbs up if you think yes, they're going to come back, or a sad face if no, handshakes are not going to come back. Okay, I'm seeing more sad faces than thumbs up. And I'm very hopeful that handshakes come back because I really like the history to them. But it's very possible that we just realize it's too germ-filled, that a handshake is too germ-filled.
Arden.
Yes.
Do you think that'll vary by, say, country, or, I mean, different countries have different customs. So is that do you know where that history is from? That's fascinating tidbit that I never knew.
I know, isn't it fun? I don't know where it's from. It is something that's well known with etiquette consultants. And other countries, every country has different cultural norms and expectations, and some countries are more comfortable with being closer together. And this is, of course, before the pandemic. So I don't know if that will influence whether or not they'll be more comfortable getting closer and therefore being able to do a handshake. It's just so hard to know. The virus has really made us all very germ conscious. So I think if we do handshakes, we'll probably all carry around a thing of hand sanitizer and then sanitize our hand outside of the person, not in front of them.
Right.
Although who knows, maybe that's just going to become the norm.
So what about alternative greetings? How can someone safely introduce themselves to someone else and say hello?
Yes. Okay. So there are several, and I think I have a slide for this. And you know what? The one thing we didn't practice was how I show slides. Do I click on present to audience?
Yes.
Okay.
And the audience, thanks for bearing with us. AirMeet is a newer platform for us. This is just our second time using it, but hopefully it's a good experience for you.
Okay, here we go. All right. Is it showing? No.
Now it is.
Okay, here we go. All right, so safe and appropriate greetings. So we have come up with some various alternatives, and I believe this is my list, yes. So we have the wave, which is, obviously just like this. And before you do your favorite alternative greeting, let me explain them all. The namaste, where we put our hands together at our chest, and you can either nod your head or you can bow. The salute is another one. And assuming we can get close enough, the elbow bump. So I would love to know which is your favorite alternative greeting. So if the wave is your favorite, do the smiley face emoji. If the namaste is your favorite, do the prayer hands emoji. If the salute is your favorite, the light bulb emoji. And the elbow bump is the laughter emoji. So I don't know if I can actually see those. So maybe I'm going to.
So there are lots of smiley faces, a few laughters. Okay.
Good. Yes, the wave seems to be the most popular. I think it's a really friendly one, and it's something that we've done normally. So I think that just may be the direction that we go if we don't get back into handshakes.
We did have one namaste.
We have one namaste. Okay. Good. Yes. So really all of them are appropriate. Here's the biggest important thing, that you smile and you have warmth on your face. And if we're still wearing masks, you'll have to extra smile so that your eyes crinkle. So you're showing that warmth without the benefit of your mouth lifting up. So there's some alternative greetings. All right. So let's go on to the next one.
Yes, and Arden, right now we're seeing the new etiquette for new work norms title slide. I'm not sure if that's what you want us to be looking at.
Oh, no. That's not good. I'm showing the alternative greetings slide. Wonder why that's not working. You were sharing another application window.
Well, in the meantime, do you want to switch over to mask etiquette?
Let's do that.
Okay, so we know that even when we're vaccinated, right now with the information that we have, we're told masks need to stay on to protect others. So assuming we're all wearing masks for a while, what should we be keeping in mind?
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of things that we have to keep in mind, particularly now that we'll be interacting more with people, and what we do with our masks, when we put them on, when we can take them off. And I actually do have a poll that I think that we're putting together. And that poll has a lot of questions about whether or not you think it is good or bad. So yes or no to the question. And I think Leah is entering those as we speak. But yeah, I think masks are here to stay. In fact, I was reading an interesting article about the flu and how no one got the flu this year because we were all wearing masks. And because it was so effective, we anticipate even when the virus is gone that we may still be wearing masks, particularly during the flu season, because it's, it's just been really effective.
So I am going to go ahead and, the audience has voted. So.
Oh, good.
Leah had asked, I believe, whether you should put your mask on the table, and 100% of the people who responded said no.
Yay, good job, everyone. That is correct. You do not want to put your mask on the table. It's germy, the table's germy. So when you sit down to a table, no matter what kind of table, conference room table, a restaurant dining table, the break room table, you put it in your lap. Or if, one of the things that I love is I bought lanyards for my mask so I can just wear it around my neck when I'm not having it on. So drop it down on your lanyard, but do put it in your lap if you don't have a lanyard. And if you're eating, put your napkin over your lap. All right, good job, everyone.
Okay, so let's go to the next question, which was, when you talk to people, do you pull your mask down so that they can hear you better? Is that something you should or shouldn't do? So right now, from what I'm seeing, hopefully this is correct and it's not the last question. Jeremy, it's a little tricky in that I can see answers, but not the actual question. But right now I'm seeing that 100% of people who responded said no.
Yay, also good. It's amazing how often I see that happen, that people are like, oh, I'm going to talk, so they pull their mask down. That's exactly when you want the mask up. So good job on that one.
Okay, let's talk about if you should wear a mask when you cannot be socially distant. And Arden, here we go. There's a new poll, so we'll let everyone vote. Okay, right now, 100% of, the answer is changing. So right now we're at 80 people are voting. That's good. Give everyone another minute. Okay, it looks like we're landing at 90% yes, 10% say no.
Okay, so let me say this. The definition of socially distanced is probably going to change as more and more of us are vaccinated. So I expect that the 6 feet may decrease. I think that it's still going to be that when we are together in any sort of close situation, we will want to wear our mask. So it may not be 6 feet, it may be less, but anytime we're in groups or with others in a
actually a statement. You don't need to wear your mask in a restaurant or the break room. So do people agree with that or no? We'll let everyone answer. Thank you to everyone who is participating.
And thank you for running that, Emily. Fantastic job.
Leah is doing a great job.
Yes.
So right now it's 100% of the people are saying no. And that's kind of a double negative. So I think that's good.
You don't need to wear your mask in a restaurant. Yes, that is correct. So wait, no. So yes, no is correct because you do need to wear it. So that was a confusing question and you all did really well. So here's the rule. When you are eating, obviously you can take it down. So again, using that lanyard is going to really help you, or, pull it down below your chin if need be. When the waiter comes by, try to, unless you're in the middle of, putting something in your mouth, try to lift it up. Same in the break room, when you're not eating, or if you're alone in the break room and no one is there, it's okay to have it down. But when someone walks in, do try to pull it up. So it's going to be a little bit maneuvering. It's going to be a little awkward, up, down, but we want to try to protect others when we aren't eating.
Okay, so Leah, if we can go to the next question, which says, if you forgot your mask and are passing someone who is wearing a mask, you should move away from the person. Is that something you would or would not do? So let everyone vote on that. And
I see it now. Yes.
Perfect.
All right. Yes, 100%. That is correct. So the rule is you sort of yield if you don't have a mask on. Like when I'm walking down the street, if I have forgotten my mask, I will cross the street to, sort of yield to those who are wearing masks, or even if they're not wearing masks, I'll still cross the street. But if you're walking down the hall, you don't have your mask on, do try to give the other person some space. So good job, everyone, on that one.
Okay, Leah, if we can go on to the next question. We just have a couple left, and then we'll move on to the next topic. But the next question is, when you are hosting a gathering, should you let people know in advance your mask expectations? Yes or no? So we'll let Leah open up that poll and allow everyone to vote. It is up now. It's looking like 100% say yes, Arden.
Good. Yes, indeed. Every host is going to be different, or, a work gathering might be different and people may not know, what's expected. So do let people know. And also, if you're invited to, whether it's a work or a social gathering where it hasn't been clear about masks and you're uncomfortable, you can ask. It's okay to say, will masks be expected? And if the answer is not, you don't feel good about the answer, if you feel uncomfortable with the situation, just say, I'm going to decline. I'm not feeling really comfortable about that.
Perfect. And final question, Leah, if you can go ahead and enter it in the poll.
So this one will be interesting.
Yes. So do you tell a non-mask wearing coworker to put their mask on? Yes or no? Oh, see it changing.
This one's a little tricky.
So 90% say yes, 10% say no.
Okay, so there are some nuances to this question. It depends on what your workplace rules are. So if the expectations are in your workplace that you wear masks whenever you're with other people, then yes, it would be appropriate to say something to your coworker. But if there are no mask expectations, it's a little bit more challenging. You could say your personal preference. You could say, I'm a little uncomfortable that you're not wearing a mask. I want to be sure that we're being safe. But you have a little bit less backing when there isn't a workplace guideline or expectation. When it comes to your boss, tread lightly. If you're talking to your non-mask wearing boss, just again, make it all about you. I have some medical challenges, or I feel really nervous about getting sick. Would you mind? So you have to tread carefully with that one. Good job, everyone.
Thank you again for participating, everyone. So Arden, did you want to do a quick little reality check-in poll regarding returning to the office?
Yes. So, we probably will, many of us will be returning to the office in some format. I don't think it's going to be exactly the same that it was before the pandemic. So, at first, I think many of us thought, oh, hallelujah, I get to stay home. I don't have to go into the workplace. And then I think some people really kind of missed that interaction with their coworkers. So I would love to know how you feel about returning to work. So here's 3 options. 1, If you look forward to being back in the office, use the thumbs up emoji. If you would rather continue to work from home, use the smiley face emoji. But if you want to work a hybrid schedule, use the clapping emoji. So back in the office, thumbs up. We're getting some clapping one. Okay, lots of clapping. Hybrid schedule. Okay. That's what I expected. I thought that there would be probably more people that want to work a hybrid schedule. And I think because we have really missed that daily interaction with people, or that occasional interaction with people, people really are hungry to get back to some socialization. But there's also really some great conveniences about working from home, you know, not having to commute and not having to get all dressed up. So it's been really a nice thing. So I want to talk, yes, go ahead.
Can we take a step back for a second? I just saw a comment in the chat from Janice, who, regarding what you were talking before about explaining why we would personally feel vulnerable if someone's not wearing a mask. Janice is asking, can we not just cite CDC guidance instead?
Absolutely. That's a great way to approach it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking that, Janice.
Okay, so what about some other workplace courtesies, Arden, that we should keep in mind for those of us who either go back full time or have a hybrid option?
Yeah, so I actually do have a slide on this, and I'm hoping it might work. Let's just try this. So here we go. Here we go. Let's see. Is this showing?
We'll give it a second. Yes, we right now see alternative greeting poll.
Perfect. All right. So let's talk about some workplace courtesy and expectations. So we did that. All right. So what we're going to do is, it's interactive. You're going to put answers in chat. So it's going to be fill in the blank, and it's going to be true, false. So go ahead and put in chat what you think the blank words are. Clean and disinfect your blank blank when you arrive and leave. So this one is tricky. There is something that we're going to be doing that might be a little bit different when we go into the office with a hybrid schedule. So it has to do with where you land, and may not be a permanent place that you own or that you are assigned to.
We're getting a couple answers. Kim says workspace. Jennifer says desk space. Okay, we're also getting workspace and phone. Hot desk, more workspace.
Hot desk. Who said hot desk?
Kim.
Good job, Ken. That is correct. So the new term is hot desk, which means basically it's a place that you use when you're in the office. It's not going to be an assigned office or cubicle that you own the whole time. It's something that you're going to land at and use while you're in the office, and then others will use it when you're not in the office. So you do want to be really careful about cleaning and disinfecting it. Great job, great job.
And
Next
Candace
one.
also says all of workspace, which probably isn't a bad idea either.
Absolutely, yes. All right, make another blank of coffee if you take the last blank. I think everyone will get that one.
Yep, we have pot and cup.
Good job, yes. So just a workplace courtesy, make another pot of coffee if you take the last cup. That hasn't changed. All right, is it true or false? It's okay to talk to your coworker over the cubicle wall.
We have several falses and it depends. We also have a with the mask on.
Oh, good.
Answers.
All right, so it is false. The reason is when we do that, it's, it could be interrupting your coworker. It's a little bit, you have to talk a little bit louder. So it's best if you can stand up and go around and actually talk to your coworker with a mask on. I love that someone wrote that. Yes. All right, good. Next one.
Someone also said situational too.
Said what?
Candace said, it's situational. And maybe you've established that relationship, so I can understand that if that's something that you know the other person is comfortable with. And
yeah, exactly. Absolutely, Ken. All right, never blank curry or fish in the office.
We have reheat from Angela. Heat.
Eat is correct. And reheat is probably correct too, because both of them are stinky. There's a few foods that you really want to avoid in the office. Kimchi is like, I love kimchi, but it is the #1 stinky food that people have a hard time dealing with. Fish, of course, curry, burnt popcorn, anything that's super garlicky, even though I love garlic, some people really don't like it. So be really mindful about the kinds of food that you're eating in the office because it can be really offensive to others. All right, next one. Don't use a blank phone in a cubicle or office with the door open.
Cell. Mobile. Speaker.
Speakerphone. Yeah. Have you ever been in an office where someone listens to their messages on speakerphone or talks to someone on speakerphone? It's so annoying, and everyone can hear the whole conversation. So only use a speakerphone when you're in a private place or an office with the door closed. All right, when visiting a cubicle coworker, say knock knock to get their attention. True or false?
True. True.
Yes.
False.
It is true. So you don't want to just walk up and say, hey, you know that report that you're working on? Can you get the blah, blah, blah? So you're sort of announcing yourself and giving that person a chance to stop what they're doing and give you their attention. So knock, knock, or good morning, or, something that just allows them to acknowledge you. All right, next one. When someone visits you, schedule a blank if the conversation is lengthy.
Meeting slot, meeting.
Meeting's correct, yes. So if someone comes by and they're chatting with you and you start getting into something that you want to spend more time on, you obviously should schedule a meeting so that you're not having this conversation and disturbing your coworkers in your area. All right, next, give visitors to your cubicle or office your full blank.
Attention.
Yes, attention.
It's easier to do when you're in person and not hiding behind a computer screen.
So true. That is one of the challenges of working from home on a Zoom or WebEx or Teams call. Yes. So if someone comes to your office, then stop what you're doing, unless you're right in the middle of something. Then say, I want to chat with you, but I have to finish this. But if you are talking to them, turn away from that keyboard. Do not be looking at the keyboard or your screen and going, yeah, I got it, yeah. Try to give them your full attention. Stop what you're doing, turn around and look at them.
Arden, what if you do that, but the person just keeps going and doesn't really listen or respect what you're saying?
Yeah, so you have to be really clear. So you just say something like, I'd love to chat more about this, but I'm under deadline right now, or I have to get this such and so done. Can we talk later? So you have to be pretty clear. Okay, when visiting someone, linger until they get off the phone. True or false? Where you make it clear that you'll come back later, or schedule an appointment with them. But lingering is going to put pressure on them to hurry up and get off the phone, and it might be an important call. So we don't want to do that.
Go
ahead.
ask you another question, Arden? So
Yeah.
what if the person says, because I'm sure some of us have experienced this, no, I have, but what if someone says, no, hold on, and they actually want you to stay and you feel uncomfortable lingering?
Yeah, right. So you mean the person on the phone says, no, hold on.
Yeah, like I'll be right off. So if they actually want you to stay, that can be a little awkward.
That's really awkward, particularly because they can't necessarily, I mean, sometimes they can, but the other person on the other line may want to continue for a long time. You could still, I mean, if you feel comfortable just standing there, then do, because they've invited you to. Otherwise, just say, that's okay, I'll come back. So it's kind of up to you, what feels comfortable to you.
Makes sense.
All right, this is definitely a reality for us right now. Keep your blank on in virtual meetings.
Video.
Yes, and this is one of my biggest pet peeves. You know, there's a reason we have virtual meetings, video meetings, so we can see each other's faces. Otherwise, we would just do a conference call. So when you're in a video meeting, unless you have to move around or you know, someone comes into the room and you don't want people to see, something happens, your phone rings and you forgot to turn it off, then you would turn your video off. But otherwise, leave that video on, because when you turn it off, it's like standing outside of a conference room and standing outside on the other side of the door and talking through the door. It's just a little odd, and people tend to discount you and not ask you questions or involve you. It's a little disrespectful. I know some organizations, some companies, that is their culture. They all just have these meetings with their videos off, and I just think it's the oddest thing. Obviously, if everyone has their video off and you have yours on, it might feel really awkward. So, you know, there's times when you have to go with the flow. But in general, I really encourage you to have your video on. Otherwise, you're just kind of saying not engaged, not interested.
Arden, another question about that. So, you know, we have a lot of parents whose children, they're not in daycare or in school. And so what if someone would like to turn on their video, but say a child is on their lap?
Yeah, so obviously if that's the case, then do turn your video off. It is good if you can share with the group, whether it's verbally or in chat, just saying, you know, doing daycare right now or childcare, or my child is with me, I'm going to turn my video off. So just let people know why you've turned it off. If it's going to be off for a little while, you know, if you're just turning it off for a little bit because you have to move around, that's okay. Otherwise, just let people know. Good. Great question. Be sure to include the blank attendees when you're meeting in person.
Virtual.
Yes, the virtual or remote. So let me talk about that. So with hybrid schedules, which most likely is going to be the way most of us work in an office job, there are things that you really need to pay attention to. Being sure that you include those remote members who are videoing in or maybe a conference calling in. One thing that helps is if they're conference calling in, having pictures of them in the room somewhere. Really deliberately making sure that you reach out to them and not just focus on the people in the room, which is what we tend to do. The other thing that's going to change is the importance of making your schedule really clear, because if people are, you know, wanting to set up meetings with you in person, you'll want to be sure that people know when you're planning on being in the office, when you aren't. And also, I would suggest that any really important meetings that you are going to have, try to do those when you are in the office. Obviously, that's not always possible, but if it is a really important meeting, you're going to have a lot more influence when you are in person. So just a few things to keep in mind. There's going to be a lot of juggling around scheduling and letting people know what's going on. All right, there's one more. Office gossip is an important way to bond with your coworkers. True or false?
We're getting falses from the group.
Yes, false is correct. So office gossip is really destructive. It's very toxic, and particularly organizations where that's the norm. you start to feel like you're not safe and you don't trust people. You don't know who's got your back and who doesn't. So I'm really against having gossip in the office. Now, obviously, there's going to be a little bit, but really try to avoid talking negatively about people that you work with others. We do need to decompress sometimes and do that with someone outside of your office. Maybe it's a spouse or a close friend that doesn't work with you. But normally it does create kind of an unpleasant environment. So I really encourage you not to do it. All right. Any questions on any of that?
I think right now we can move on to, is it okay if we move on to inclusive meetings?
Yes, yes, yes.
So 2020, what a year. We have a global pandemic, but on top of that, 2020 was filled with civil unrest. So after George Floyd's murder and the largest Black Lives Matter movement that we've seen in history, I mean, it was a movement, it was not a moment. Many businesses are now realizing that they do need to do more to address the lack of diversity, equity, and inclusion in their companies. So this is a really good thing. But we also know that diversity, it means nothing without inclusivity. So can you talk to us about what it means to be inclusive and why it's important, Arden?
Absolutely. So let me show you, well, first let me say a few things about this. I am so glad, it's tragic the way the attention to the need for diversity, inclusion, and equity has come about. But I am glad in the long run that the issue has been brought forth and companies are realizing how incredibly important it is that we really focus on those three aspects of having a more inclusive and diverse workplace. So let me just say also, as a white woman, I cannot speak very well for people of color who experience a very different environment. As a woman, I have experienced discrimination and harassment, but I can't speak to the experience of being a person of color. I can speak from a place of etiquette about inclusivity and how important it is. So it's focused on meetings, and let me again share my slide and get back to that.
You're a pro at doing now.
Yes, I think I've got it now. Okay. All right. So moving on. So what is an inclusive meeting and why does it matter? So basically in an inclusive meeting, everyone has a chance to contribute and everyone's voices matter. They all have equal weight. And what's really incredible is how much it impacts the success of a company when they have inclusivity and their meetings are inclusive. So diverse companies report growing market share 45% more often than less diverse counterparts. That's huge. And then also companies that are diverse are 70% more likely to capture a new market. So definitely some compelling reasons besides it just being the right thing to do for practicing diversity, inclusion, and equity. So first, I want to point out some biases that may get in the way of having inclusive meetings, and I think these are really important to understand. One of them is we think smart people think on their feet and react quickly. So let me back up and just say inclusive meetings are not just about including diversity in terms of people of color. It's also about introverts, people that are older and younger, women, whether they're women of color or white women, so people who typically are marginalized. So this bias makes us focus on extroverts, people who are able to quickly answer. We think, oh, they're really smart because they're able to think on their feet. And obviously there's many people, introverts, need more time to think through what they want to say and to process. And they're not any less smart. They just have a different way of thinking and processing their thoughts. So that one needs to be taken off the table. Forgotten that one. This one's really important about working with remote workers. So out of sight, out of mind. We tend to focus on the people just in our site. So if you are in a conference room, you're meeting in person with some people and others are remoting in, I sort of addressed this a little bit, really make a point to try to include those people who are remoting in as well as those in the room. And then another bias that many people have is that men have more to contribute. So often in meetings, you'll see that men will get the floor more often, women will be interrupted more often, and that includes white women and women of color, and also men of color get interrupted more often. And I'll share a statistic on that. So things that you have to really be aware of having that bias. Oh, actually, I didn't have that statistic, but the statistic is that women, both white women and women of color and men of color, are interrupted twice as likely as other white men. So that's something that we have to be aware of. All right, so here are some tips for being a facilitator of inclusive meetings. So one thing that really helps is to set meeting expectations in advance. So that might mean you send an email saying, I'm expecting all of you to come ready to share your thoughts and listen to other thoughts. So you're basically saying, don't plan on talking the whole time. And for those who tend to be quieter, you're saying, I really value your thoughts. You also might meet one-on-one with someone who is tends to be a dominator, and just say, something like, you've always got great ideas, and I really like that you're willing to share them. But would you mind just holding back a little bit? I want to give others a chance to offer their ideas in this meeting. Same with someone who tends to be very quiet, who has lots of ideas, but is a little more reluctant to share them. Approach that person and say, when you talked about such and so when we were meeting one-on-one, I thought that was such a great idea, and I would love for you to share that in the meeting. So just be very inviting and set those expectations. Another way to create a really warm environment is to welcome participants by name. So if there's a meeting where you're not sure who everyone is, take some time to find out who they are, what their names are, and be sure every single person is welcomed by their name, not just those who you know. So you might have to go to the company listing or go to LinkedIn or whatever you have, tools you have to know who is who. So this is in the meeting, state those meeting norms. So that could be you reiterate what your meeting expectations were that you stated in advance. It could also be how you want to answer questions or allow people to ask questions, whether they raise their real hand, their virtual hand. There's going to be question and answer time in the middle, in the end. So make sure people really understand, particularly because we will be working more hybrid and a mixture of in-person and virtual. It's going to be important that people know what the meeting norms are. And again, reiterating that all voices are important and that you want to hear from everyone. So this is really important for allowing those people who are quieter in your meetings. Be sure you do have a variety of ways for people to share in your meetings. So that might mean you create a writing time. So for those who are a little bit quieter, like to have time to process their thoughts, allowing some writing time and then having them share. Or it could be putting people into small groups, discussion groups, and that might be a virtual breakout room. It could be both virtual breakout room for the remote callers and actual groups for in-person. It could be you use a whiteboard or flip charts where people walk around, or on virtual meetings, they write on the virtual whiteboard any thoughts that they have. So make it not just a discussion, and particularly a discussion where the loudest person gets the most attention. Look for those ways to try to have different ways for people to participate.
Arden, have you ever used the, I think it's called Mural?
No.
So that might be something if anyone is looking to have more inclusive virtual meetings. Mural is I'll put it in chat, but People can grab sticky notes and move them around. It's a great way to collaborate.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. Definitely put that in chat. That's great, Emily. I use the whiteboard in Zoom a lot, and you can allow others to actually write on that whiteboard. So it is a nice virtual tool, but I really like that the sticky note thing with Mural. That's great. So this is really important. If you want inclusive meetings and you're facilitating them, make sure that you're modeling inclusive behavior. So that means you are encouraging all voices to be heard. You're not interrupting people. You're encouraging, let me back up. When someone is interrupted, typically a woman or a man of color, stop and say, wait, I really want to hear what Shahani just said. Let's go back. Shahani, you mentioned something about the blah, blah, blah. So making sure that you're bringing those conversations in, you're allowing people the time and the space to be able to say what they want to say, and that you're not being an interrupter. You're not turning just to those people that you're comfortable hearing from, that you're actually allowing everyone to have a voice in the room. And then this is really important. We've always got those who really like to talk, that are the extroverts, and they are comfortable speaking off the top of their head. You want to be sure you're stopping them. So again, just using something like, call their name. Joe, great idea. I would love to allow others to share their thoughts on that topic. So don't let people run the meeting. You're in charge, and it's really important you create this environment where everyone feels comfortable asking questions and sharing their thoughts. So I would love to hear any questions you might have on that.
Yes, and again, if anyone does have a question, please click on questions, which is on the right side of your screen. We don't have any at this moment.
Okay, not a problem. You know what I'll do is I'll just wrap it up, and because we're right at time, right?
Yes, we are. And if anyone does want to stick around and meet some of the other attendees, there is a social lounge that you can join after the program ends if you'd like.
So we've talked about several things. We've talked about safe alternative greetings. We discussed some office mask etiquette and the office do's and don'ts, and then we talked about inclusive meetings. So I hope that you're walking away with some new tips and ideas about how we're going to navigate this new world of ours. And I would love to take questions if you have any. If you'd like to be in touch, you can sign up for my e-newsletter by texting the word manners to the number 22828, or visit my website, cliseetiquette.com. And I do have a business etiquette book, and it's available on Amazon.com. And then I also understand we're going to be possibly giving away a couple of copies of my book, and I'll let Emily talk about that.
Yes. So if you had a favorite takeaway from this presentation, we'd love for you to share it on social media. It can be on Facebook, on Instagram, or LinkedIn. Please tag both World Trade Center Seattle and Clise Etiquette, and we will be giving away 2 copies of the book to the first 2 people to do so. So again, either your favorite takeaway, or you can post a photo of you doing something that Arden has talked about. Maybe it's making a new pot of coffee, or, elbow bumps. So 2 ways to enter to win the book. And if you think your company could benefit from something like this, Clise Etiquette does offer a variety of workplace trainings and presentations, including a half-day training on this very topic of new etiquette for the new work norms. So Leah will be sending out an email with information on how to contact Arden. And in the meantime, if anyone would like to join our next monthly member happy hour, it is next Wednesday, March 24th. It's in honor of Women's History Month, so we'll be doing a fun game of Jeopardy! If you're not a member, we'd still love to have you. Just reach out to Leah or me once you receive the follow-up email. And then also, we haven't announced this yet, but we're really excited about our next Can We Talk program. So this series is all about having really important conversations all around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So what we've touched on here, but this next program on April 8th will be about how do we close the COVID-19 gender gap. 2.5 million women have had to leave the workforce compared to 1.8 million men. So we'll be talking about that in more detail. And you can find more information on WTCseattle.com. Arden, it doesn't look like we have any questions. You have just done an amazing job covering all the topics. So thank you so much for being with us, Arden. Thank you to everyone who's watching. And again, if you want to meet other attendees, we'll open up the social lounge. Otherwise, if you want to get back to work and give your eyes a break from the screen, we completely understand. So have a great day, everyone. Thank you, Arden.
You bet. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here.